at the beginning of the summer, we all chose what our top 10 movies were that we thought would gross the highest in terms of domestic box office, as well as 3 dark horse choices. And here are the rules of the game real quick. I'll say them real quick just so you know what they are. And again, you can find all this at thesummermoviewager.com. But the general goal of the game is to predict the highest grossing films of the summer in terms of domestic box office in the correct order. The closer you get to the final ranked order, the more points you get. This year, the Summer Movie Wager began on May 2nd, 2024 with the release of The Fall Guy. Remember that, folks? Remember the release of The Fall Guy? remember?
More like Summer Guy.
It made the list. I didn't think it would for a while there.
All the stuff that's happened since The Fall Guy. Anyway, and the Summer Movie Wager lasts through Labor Day, which in this case was September 2nd, I believe, 2024. Each of your 13 picks gets a single score assigned to it using the following rules. If you pick number 1 or 10 correct, you get 13 points. Entries 2 through 9 get 10 points. If your movie is only 1 spot away from actual placement, you score 7 points. 2 spots away, 5 points. Any place in the top 10, you score 3 points. And if it's not in the top 10 at all, you score 0 points. Finally, for any dark horses picked, you score 1 point. And that's it. The winner of the Summer Movie Wager gets to specify a TV show or film under 3 hours long that everyone else will watch or talk about before the next Summer Movie Wager. So those are the rules. And I guess we should get into it. Why don't we start with this? Does anyone have any overall reflections on this summer's box office before we start counting down from 1 through 10? I will say I think this was another situation of the haves and the have-nots, right? There's some movies that performed extremely well and then a vast gap in the middle, and then movies that struggled to get into the top 10.
There's a $600 million difference between the 10th movie, or 550, I'm sorry, math was, difference between the top movie and the last movie, which is pretty wild. I think that's really good. I think it was I think it was pretty wildly out there. I think BJ touched on it, how that Furiosa would do nothing and The Fall Guy would be nothing, and that other movies would do really well. I think it was a highly unpredictable one in comparison to some previous ones.
Absolutely,
for most people.
For most of the people on this podcast.
It is wild that, when we've been doing the Summer Movie Wager for over a decade, I don't know, this 13th or 14th year we've been doing this. I started, we were doing it on the Totally Rad show and then brought in the Filmcast. And so we've been doing it a long time. I know we've had COVID years. We even did it. There was a year where we didn't do it at all. But I don't know how many years. I don't think very many at all, if any. The 10th movie did not make $100 million. That's a wild thing. There's not 10 movies that made $100 million in the summer. That's wild.
And not only that, I think it was it wasn't until I'm going to say Twisters came out that it really felt like the summer box office was starting to come alive. Through May and June, the movies didn't do very well at all. And it was it was bleak, man. It was bleak for a good 4 to 6 weeks. And then Twisters came out and that did pretty well. And then of course, Despicable Me, Deadpool Wolverine, Inside Out 2. It's hey, people do like to go to the movies after all. Bad Boys Ride or Die also didn't do too badly. So, okay. Anyway, any other thoughts before we start counting them down, folks? Let's get into it then, shall we? The number 1 movie of the summer 2024 domestic box office was Inside Out 2, with $650 million in domestic box office. Now, I want to point out these figures we're using are only through the Labor Day weekend, so this is not current to when you're listening to this right now. It's just what counted for the wager.
That's very important.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. Maybe he could have actually made the difference between someone winning first place or second place.
Who says? Who's to say?
Who's to say that it should only go through Labor Day? It could go till the...
So, full credit to where credit is due. BJ Colangelo, Peter Sciretta, and Germain Lussier all chose Inside Out 2 as their number 1 film of summer 2024. Bravo, folks. You got one
Hell
of the
yeah.
most challenging picks, correct?
That's right.
Which one of us was furthest away with that pick, though? That's the good question to ask.
Jeff Kanata is referring to the fact that I put Inside Out 2 as number 4 because Pixar has not been having a good time for the last 4 years at the domestic box office. But if there's ever a sign that past results are not or past events are not a predictor of future results, this is it. Inside Out 2 surprised everyone. Even, I would argue, people who chose it as number 1.
Yeah.
I don't think y'all expected it to do this well, right?
Nope.
Right?
This is the one that I had
Not
that
at
I
all.
was like, this is going to be far and away the number 1 of the year because I said it on the recording and I'll say it now. Do not underestimate the combination of family films and movies that'll make nostalgic millennials cry.
Okay, that's fair. BJ called it. But yeah, $650 million is an incredibly high take. I actually got some notes here about what exactly this means. It is the highest grossing animated film of all time. Highest grossing film.
But BJ, you didn't think it was going to be the highest grossing animated film of all time.
No, but I also didn't think that the Super Mario Brothers movie was going to do that last year either.
True.
The highest grossing film of 2024 so far. The fastest film to reach $1 billion. And the second biggest opening weekend globally. First one being Incredibles 2. So this broke a ton of records. By the way, so there, in terms of SEO, by the way, there's like publications have these articles that are like, here's every box office record that blank broke, right? And so I looked up the Inside Out 2 article, and I have to say the Deadpool and Wolverine article was a lot sadder. It was like highest grossing film by Ryan Reynolds, highest grossing film by Sean Levy, and so on. So it was like highest grossing film that came out on July, whatever the hell, it's July 2nd, So the Inside Out 2 ones were much more impressive in my opinion. That said, Peter Sciretta, any thoughts on Inside Out 2?
Well, Dave, I know you want to keep it a mystery who won this, but
yes,
I think it's safe to say that David Chen doesn't win these too often. But David, if you had put this at number 1, you would have won this year.
Trust me. Peter Sciretta is basically saying the words that I say to myself before I go to sleep every night. But yes, that is correct. That is correct. A lot of choices were made that weren't great.
But that was your single worst choice out of your list.
Dave was
which has a lot of bad choices, by the way. But that's the single worst.
He was certain that Bad Boys Ride or Die would make more money than Inside Out 2.
I was. I mean,
Wild.
Track record of
which is only a $450 million error.
Wow.
The Pixar hate was running through him.
Jeff, do we want to talk about how badly some of us did on the Summer Movie Wager this year? Is that a conversation you want to open up?
Yes.
Jermaine, any thoughts on Inside Out 2 being the number 1 film of the summer box office?
I guess I obviously saw it coming as I picked it, but I did say on the podcast that I thought it was going to eventually get outgrossed by Deadpool Wolverine domestically, and Deadpool Wolverine got pretty close. 50 million isn't bad. We'll talk about that in a sec, but so I honestly, it was way above my expectations. Number 1 animated film ever, and it's good. I think it's so good, but I'm like, is it that good? I don't think it is. I think it's great, and I can't wait to watch it again on D+ when it comes out. But yeah, I think the quality matches. I think, like BJ said, there's just an appetite for a really good animated film, and it hit it right on the money.
Sounds like we're getting Inside Out 3, everybody.
Oh, yeah, we're getting Riley Goes to High School for sure. And I'll cry at that, too. It'll be cool. I'll do a hat trick of crying.
Per BJ's comment,
hockey reference for
BJ's comment about millennials, I think it's underrated, the idea of, hey, the people who watched the first one that was also very beloved have now grown up and can now bring their kids to this one, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's clearly what happened with Inside Out 2. Literally everyone I know either watched it or is aware of this film. So yeah, a great choice, everyone who chose it for number 1. We should also point out Jeff chose it for number 3, and Devindra chose it for his number 2 pick. I was the one that got that one most wrong. But let's have a little teaching moment here, right? And say that even if somebody has failed at something, even if somebody or something has failed continuously at something for 3 to 4 years, all you need is one hit, baby, and then you are back. You are back.
Talking from my own perspective, I basically just flip-flopped Inside Out and Despicable Me 4. I just it felt clear that those would bookend Deadpool and Wolverine, but I just had them in the wrong order there.
But Jeff, next year, are you going to go non-cynical and actually go with your heart and your mind rather than like the cynical? Like, I feel like that's always your downfall in this competition.
It's so true.
Literally every time we got to hear about Jeff's self-torment about why am I always choosing the cynical choice and then the actually good movie wins.
It's because back in diggity 03, whatever year it was that I actually won this thing, I picked Transformers as number one, and it was so cynical. And then that just got me in a rut of being like, that's how you win these things, is underestimate the taste of the American people.
That was the last time Jeff Cannata won one of these things. I think that was around the time that the internal combustion engine was created.
Yeah. It was good. We are all putting our buggy whips away and going to see
people are like,
Transformers.
Horses are still going to be a thing, but they're not going to be as big of a deal anymore.
Right.
So. Anyway, that is the number one film of the summer box office, Inside Out 2. The number two film of the summer box office this year was Deadpool and Wolverine, which made $603 million. And wouldn't you know it, Germain and Peter also got that choice correct. Germain,
it's going to be a theme we're going to be dealing with.
This is one of Germain's strongest showings ever, I think. He got multiple movies dead on. Now, I chose this movie, obviously, as the number one film of the summer box office. And for a brief, beautiful moment, for like 1 to 2 weeks, it seemed like it might actually be possible that this movie would actually outgross Inside Out 2. I think I think none of us expected this movie to do this well either. I thought it would do well, but I did not think it would make $600 million. That makes it the highest R-rated opening weekend of all time, both worldwide and domestic, and the 6th highest domestic opening weekend of all time that this movie had.
And I believe it was the highest grossing R-rated film ever by the end, right? And it's still going. Yeah.
So...
Which is not as impressive as the Inside Out ones, like you said, but you have to put that R-rated kind of shackles on it, because that does, definitely take some of the audience away. But again, even with that, $50 million separating that and Inside Out 2 is wild.
I think this is the R-rated. This is like that rare R-rated film that played like a PG-13 film.
Without a doubt.
It's one of those movies that makes as much as a family film of Inside Out 2's caliber, but is rated R. Very curious how many kids went to see this one.
A lot.
Because I think a lot of questionable parenting decisions going on.
A lot of cool parenting.
That's right.
Yeah, all the cool kids went to see it.
All the cool parents that let their kids say swears in the house.
Oh, yeah.
Jeff Cannata also chose this as his number two film of the summer box office.
Nailed it.
Dead on. Nicely done.
What skills?
But this movie was wildly successful. I mean, I think a kind of a similar dynamic as with Inside Out 2 in the sense that certainly for people, we won't reveal any of the cameos here, although they've basically been posted publicly many times at this point. But basically a movie that played to nostalgia, played to people who have been following superhero films since 2000s Bryan Singer X-Men, right? Like played to people who've like been loving these movies the whole time, and also seemingly was able to rope in all the kind of up and coming young Marvel fans as well.
Yeah.
And therefore like reach just like vast expanse of people, I think, for this one, right?
Yeah.
Dave,
any other thoughts?
Can I have a quick rant here?
Okay.
So this movie came out on like a Thursday or something. They premiered it at Comic-Con. And after the screening at Comic-Con, they brought on stage every cameo. So I had my tickets for the opening weekend. So I'm looking on Twitter, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Why are they bringing this person out? And why is this person on stage? Like everybody's tweeting about it. Everybody's sharing the videos, the photos. Germain's probably joining in on this.
I wasn't.
Why I was there, but no. Why the heck did Disney and Marvel spoil their own movie? Like, I'm not even like Jeff Or like, wait until after opening weekend.
Really spat that out of your mouth there, Peter.
I'm not even an unreasonable person like Jeff.
But it was like they literally, like, the only people that wouldn't have been spoiled by it, or people that weren't on social media paying attention, or people that saw it at the first screening on the night before it opens.
Yeah. The screening was basically Sunday or Thursday at 7 p.m. So basically like whatever, one of those first screenings on the West Coast. So people on the East Coast had seen it. But I agree with Peter. It was a little wild, especially like a lot of times when you do press for Disney and Marvel, they're like, you can totally talk about spoilers, but not until the following weekend. Or sometimes like they say like 2 weeks. I think on this one, I did an interview with the film's editor and they were like, you can't post anything that he said about spoilers for 2 weeks. And I'm like, bitch, first day you had those people up on the stage, and it was wild. I think also they maybe were hoping the Comic-Con people would be cool about it and not post everything, but you can't trust the 6,500 people in that room for as far as you can throw them.
And by the way, that was the last time Germain ever got an interview with Disney, because he used the word bitch to talk to the PR person.
Yeah. I wasn't referring to the PR person. I was referring to the world in general.
The royal bitch.
Yes.
How dare you disparage the queen? Anyway,
hold on. Let me respond to that. Are we going to respond to that, Jeff?
I was like, she's dead now. What are you going to do?
No. I think the real lesson here is that studios do not care about spoilers.
Yes,
if it can get them extra
That's true too.
tickets sold, they will spoil it happily.
Absolutely, I agree with everything.
Advance.
Yeah, I do have something on that too. The fact that the cast and crew were actively sharing people taking footage of the screen almost turned me into the Joker this summer.
Yes.
Don't encourage them.
I'm way more angry about that. So what BJ's referring to is, I think Sean Levy reposted footage of somebody filming the screen at an actual movie screening of Deadpool Wolverine. That freaking sucks, because it's incentivizing that kind of behavior in the future. It's like, oh, hey, if the director's cool with it, then like I can do it in the future, and it's going to make more people do that in the future, and that is creating a worse movie going experience for everyone else. And I hate that. Now, going back to Peter's point, I'm just going to put this out there. Hey, Peter, welcome to what it's like to be a regular person.
Oh yeah.
Basically, if you don't want to be spoiled, maybe stay off the internet, which is what most people do. Most responsible people like Jeff Kanata do when they don't want to be spoiled on something.
And if you were going to go, if you were going to go see it opening weekend, that's fine. But if you're going to see it as early as possible, so you don't have to worry about it.
Here's the thing, Dave.
I know there was a Not Scary Farm on Thursday, but you could have skipped it. Come on.
Zing! The zings!
I just need more people to become zen with spoilers. It's like pro wrestling. It's not about the result. It's the journey. It's fine.
But BJ, I love spoilers. I love hearing about this stuff way in advance. The thing I don't like is when you hear about it the day before you're going to see the movie.
Yeah.
I love consuming spoilers, but it's hearing about it right before you see it is oh, come on.
Yeah,
it sounds like you need to get a little more zen with spoilers then.
And the other thing is, I'm very good at avoiding spoilers. When I see that something's about Deadpool and Wolverine on my, I can easily skip. But these were just people. This was a photo of people on stage at Comic-Con, and people were freaking out that. I'm not going to say who, but and
outlets were running interviews with those people the Friday after that too. Yeah.
I don't want to relitigate this issue yet again. I will just retort to BJ that is the journey. You're saying it's not about the destination, it's the journey. The journey is discovering that those people are in the movie.
I don't think it is the journey. The journey is, how were they there? What are they doing? How did they get to this point? That is a journey.
The movie, I think someone walks around a corner in the movie. That's a reveal.
We know they're going to Wally World and vacation. We don't know how they're getting there.
So true.
But you didn't know John Candy was going to be the guy.
Okay.
Half the audience has no idea what any of those proper nouns are.
None of those words are in the Bible. I'm sorry.
That was all gibberish. Okay. Any other thoughts on Deadpool and Wolverine at number 2? Just a crowd pleasing. I'll just say, like, I personally enjoyed the movie, like a crowd pleasing movie. I think we all had a good time.
Yeah.
Not a super ambitious film, but
and I think we all recognized that movie was going to make a whole bunch of money. Like nobody got that movie farther away than one slot. Yes, right. Everybody was at least. We kind of dialed in that it was going to be in the top 3 at the very least.
Yeah, we're all trading places on that one.
All right. That's Deadpool and Wolverine. Number 2 at the summer box office was $603 million. Number 3 with $355 million.
What a drop off, but yeah.
What a drop off. Not even freaking close. Not even a squeaker.
Yeah, it was funny. I was going to say earlier when Germain was talking about how like it's only a $50 million difference between Inside Out 2 and Deadpool and Wolverine. I was like, that's half the take of Fall Guy. That's half their money.
That's true.
Indeed. All right, Despicable Me 4. $355 million. Germain and Peter both hit this dead on, as did Devendra Hardwar. Me and BJ were 1 spot away. Jeff Canada obviously put this at number 1. He got this 2 spots away.
And props to Devendra for finally hitting one. Really good job.
Wow. He's not here to defend himself.
Yeah, wow.
I'm saying he hit this, and I just want to give him his respect for finally hitting one, getting 10 points.
Dancing on graves.
Brutal. So who here has actually seen Despicable Me 4?
Me.
I think Jeff Canada, right? Anyone else?
I took my kid.
I also have seen it.
I haven't seen any of them since the first one.
And
that's
in
a
the
smart
scale
choice.
of Despicable...
Yeah.
In the scale of Despicable Me films, it seems like a perfectly adequate Despicable Me movie. Is that correct? Or
I thought it was less bad than others of them.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But
BJ, what do you think?
Yeah, certainly not the worst, certainly not the best. It's fine.
Yeah. So
Jeff, were you spoiled on Inside Out Despicable Me 4, or were you happy to watch the trailers for this one? Okay.
I didn't see Will Ferrell coming at all.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah. What experience? That was the journey, you know.
Any other thoughts on Despicable Me 4?
Jermaine ate his Wheaties this morning, everybody.
I'm glad that I was wrong on I had it higher than Deadpool and Wolverine, and I'm thrilled that it did get overtaken because I don't like to live in a world where this movie has such a stranglehold on our society and our culture.
Yeah, I mean, sadly, the movie still was wildly successful.
I don't think we've seen the last of the Minions.
But it could have been worse.
As wildly successful as it could have been. So I agree that is a positive side. So,
why do you think this did so much worse than like the first 4? I guess, or 3? How many of them have there been? There's been a lot because there's been Minions, Rise of Gru, Minions.
2 Minions or 3 Minions movies? I literally have no idea. So I think
7 or 6 movies. 6 movies.
6 or 7. 6 or 7. Yeah.
I do think a lot of people
it's done the least well.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are aging out of Minions. Also, the last Minions movie, there was like this humongous push for people who saw it just as a bit, like showing up wearing suits to see the Minions. That did not happen this time. I think that might have contributed to it a little bit.
Yeah.
Also, Peter, it still did quite a bit better than Despicable Me 3. I know it's the last mainline canonical Despicable Me movie, right? Which came out in 2017 and made $264 million domestic. So I don't know, man. I don't see this as a failure. You're right. Like, I think it did probably worse than the last Minions movie, which came out in 2022. Minions: The Rise of Gru, as BJ just pointed out. But it only did slightly worse than that. I don't
actually that movie did 370, so it's not even that much less than that.
Right.
So.
I disagree with the premise of your question, Peter.
Yeah. Yeah. So now my question is, why did Jeff think this was going to be number 1?
Well, I think
Jeff is a moron.
It's a reasonable choice. It's a reasonable pick.
We had it number 3 and we got it. It's
certainly reasonable to put this above Inside Out 2. You know, that's
I
extremely
really,
reasonable.
I mean, as I've said before, I really thought it was going to be a family film that was going to rule the box office. I just misinterpreted which one. I had this thing in my head that these movies always outdid the Pixar movies, and so that's what happened. But somebody pointed out that that's not even true. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm not very smart.
All right. Well, anyway, Despicable Me for $355 million. Number 4 at the box office this summer, Twisters, which came in with $260 million. And this, I would say, was a very pleasant surprise. I don't think most of us did not put it this high. Most of us did not put it this high, right? Peter had this at number 9.
Mm-hmm. Well, to be fair, when I said this, Dave, I was like, I don't know how this is going to go. This could be Top Gun Maverick, or this could be, you know what I mean? Like, it could have been one or the other, and I picked the wrong one, I think. So,
I mean, I put this at number 10. You know, I didn't think this is do that well either. BJ put this at number 6, as did Jeff and Devindra. So you all put this number 6. So Germain, again,
what
got this dead on.
Dead on. Very impressive.
The top 4 all dead on. That's pretty good. Yeah, I think, but this honestly, this is the one I'm proudest of, as obviously I'm the only one who got it, but it speaks to what I mentioned. Yes, exactly. And I mentioned that in my little quip at the beginning is, you know, obviously people who've listened have heard, you know, I picked Top Gun to do very well, not as well as it did, and it was a whole thing. And this one, it was that same kind of, you know, like chip on my shoulder of like, oh, this is like this weird nostalgic kind of middle America thing that I think is going to really pop. And everybody you got on the podcast is like, no, number 9, number 10. And it's got Glenn Powell, and I bet heavy on it. Number 4 of the summer. And,
great Peter Sciretta impression, by the way. Nicely done.
That was a Jeff Kanata.
What? I didn't put it at number 9 or 10.
No, I know. Yeah, I don't know. Like, and honestly, like, yeah, I'm excited about the pick, but you just get lucky here. And like, we're talking about Jeff going with his heart versus his, you know, logic with a lot of these picks. And this was me just going straight with my heart. Like, I wanted it to do really well. It did really well. I really liked the movie. And yeah, it just so happens that these 2 movies that I kind of picked, different from everybody else, star Glenn Powell. And now I'm like, is Glenn Powell like the guy? Though I think in both cases, he's not the draw. He's just like a fortunate recipient of good scripts and a lot of nostalgia. So Twisters, number 4, loving it. And we'll see how it goes the rest of the way from here for me.
I'll also just put this out there. I think these movies that did exceptionally well, like the top 5 movies, all had really broad audiences, like brought in different demographic groups from different states. Yeah. Let's say different red states and blue states, you know, to like come together and enjoy Glenn Powell screaming at people in these tornado towns because apparently they don't know what an emergency looks like.
Glenn Powell is the purplest of actors.
Absolutely.
Oh God.
And I will say, just to hit myself in the face a little bit, the next number here is the one I did the worst on, and which is crazy because the franchise is something I hold dear. So if I had done a little better, I would have done even better. But we'll see what happens here, number 5.
If you had done better, you would have done better.
Thank you for that logic.
In case you guys do the math on that, we can pause and do the math on that later.
Yeah.
I think something else to factor in too, though, is that a lot of these big ones also had screenings that were outside of just regular screens. We had a lot of IMAX screens. The 4DX experience for Twisters, oh boy.
Yeah.
That was a fun time.
Yeah.
So, BJ, did you do the 4DX experience?
Oh yeah,
for Twisters, or
you leave and your hair is messed up. Like, it is so fun and wild.
Yeah, it feels like a movie that was designed, or an experience that was designed for that movie.
Oh God, yeah.
I came out of Inside Out 2 with my hair messed up, but that was just because my head was in my hands so many times.
Because he hadn't chosen it as number 1 for the summer movie.
I do want to say, I was looking at Dennis's tweets from around this time. So I'm looking at July 17th. The chances to win at this point on Twisters. Jeff 0%. Devindra 0.06. Jermaine 0.75, Dave Chen 30%, BJ 35, Peter 43. So I don't know. That's a pretty interesting, just to see like how low some of these went.
Yeah.
The following week, we're just going to point this out as well. Jeff Kanata 0%. Devindra Hardwar, the 0.06 is gone 0%, but that 0.06 went to me as I'm now at 1%.
Wow.
BJ 25, Dave Chen 31, and Peter 52%.
They said it.
So
they
that was
said
an
it couldn't be
interesting
done.
couple weeks, I think, for Twisters and everything else. We're just going to put that.
I love how Germain has gone full Thanos. It's it's very fun to watch.
Well, you went from 1% to whatever the final percent was.
Yeah, exactly.
Really impressive. Really impressive.
Or did I? Maybe I didn't. I mean, I did hit the top 4.
Yeah,
I guess, but.
yeah. Maybe it went back down to 0% after that. We can only hope that that's exactly what happened.
You're gonna.
Can I ask a serious question here? What lesson do you want Hollywood to take from Twisters doing so well? And what lesson do you think they're going to take? Because I don't know.
Mind the 90s.
Yeah, that's probably it. You're probably right.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're going to take.
Yeah, it's a good question, Peter. But I think what's interesting about Twisters, though, is, and one of the things that I didn't like about it is that it very, very tangentially mentioned the first movie, right? It has the Dorothy thing, but no one's related to anything besides that. It sort of just has this like little sprinkle. And I think maybe it'll take that away. It's like, it doesn't need to be a legacy sequel. We don't need to bring back Helen Hunt, I would have loved it, but, obviously they didn't need it because the movie did really well. So maybe it is just like IP.
We don't need the member berries or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. We don't need that. We just need to have the IP and then do a nice new story in it. And then that would be cool, but that won't be it. But that's a good
one.
On this topic, Glenn Powell has talked about this publicly in interviews. He says here, quote, "One of the things that I've realized recently is that when studios say a genre is dead, all it means is that there's a huge opportunity because the market is not being served. The business stopped making romantic comedies, apparently because romantic comedies weren't making any money in theaters. But my belief is there's no problem facing Hollywood that can't be solved by a really good movie. Having grown up in and around Texas, I'm aware there are vast parts of America that have been underserved in terms of movies they want to see. You sort of have New York and Los Angeles making the decisions about what gets made, but there's a whole lot more audience out there you need to think about," end quote. So I think that's probably
always bet on Glenn Powell.
Probably a good lesson. Yep. Probably a good lesson.
He ain't wrong.
Big city coastal elite comic book fans.
He gave that interview before that movie even came out, and did extremely well. So he's calling his shot like Babe Ruth pointing at the stands there, and he nailed it. So
knocked that right out of the park.
Well done again. Absolutely. All right. Well, that is number 4, Twisters. All right, folks, it's time to get to number 5. Bad Boys Ride or Die, which made $193 million. I chose this as my number 3 film of the summer box office. This was going to be my Germain Lussier's Top Gun Maverick.
Your Ride or Die.
It was my attempt at choosing an unconventional pick that was going to surprise everyone. And look, obviously I didn't succeed, but I got like somewhat close. It wasn't like way far off. It was very far off in terms of box office from the number 3 choice.
David, to be fair, you only would have had to double the box office to get to that.
But again, that's not the point of this wager. The wager is the placement. So yeah, he was off by 200 million. But
wow, Peter.
He still put it number 5. I put it number 10. Like I said, that was a huge blunder.
But someone did get this right on.
One sterling hero managed to nail this one, despite all the odds. Not seeing a single trailer, barely even understanding the franchise.
Didn't think Will Smith was back.
Has a, at best, faulty comprehension of films he actually watches. Needs to be told where and when he is at all times in order to function in society.
Only occasionally conscious.
Who is that, Jeff?
That's me.
What?
I'm that guy. I'm that hero.
What?
Nailed it at number 5. Meh, 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 meh. Got it.
Congratulations, Jeff. Jeff scored this dead on at number 5. No one else got this dead on. But yeah, $193 million. So this did worse than the last Bad Boys film, unfortunately. But it still did pretty well. And remember, at the time that this movie came out, it was pretty, like, I think it had been the best. It came out June 7th. And it did better than like any other film until that point, or many other films until that point. It was like, oh wow, summer box office is back, baby. And despite not doing as well as the last one, this franchise still has staying power. I'm very curious, like if they're going to make another one of these. It's very possible. And the movie overall was highly enjoyable, I thought. So anyway, Bad Boys Ride or Die. Number 5, $193 million. Very solid showing. Very solid showing. Not amazing, but very solid showing. So, also a movie I think that had pretty good legs as the weeks went on. This is one of those movies that which I predicted. I just didn't think it would be so low in the opening weekend.
I welcome a return to the Millennium. This is great news for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, that's the number 5 choice, Bad Boys Ride or Die. Let's get to the number 6 slot in the summer 2024 domestic box office, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. This movie made $171 million during the summer movie wager timeline. And Germain and Peter Sciretta both hit this dead on at number 6.
I'm sorry, I can't count here. So let's see. That's 5 dead ons for me. That's pretty good. That's half. Is it 10 divided by 2?
that might even be the most dead on anybody's ever had
on the podcast
of our group.
Yeah. Not global.
Group.
Globally, they.
Oh yeah. But I will say that even though I did get this dead on, Dave, this is the one that I think we all kind of knew where it was going to go because everybody else got a 7 points from this. So
everyone else put it at number 7. So Germain and Peter put it at number 6. Everyone else put it at number 7. I think this is the rare podcast win where everyone basically got this really close.
Kind of had it dialed in. Yeah.
Had it dialed in, which is
But Germain and I had it more close.
More closer.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, I think I saw this movie after we recorded it, and I think I remember saying something like, "Man, I'm seeing it tonight, and I hope it's good." And I remember walking out of that theater and going, "I'm comfortable with my placement. I think it's gonna sit here."
Yeah. I mean, we all did pretty close. This is a movie, a franchise that continues to have staying power. People continue to be interested in this idea of what if we were living on the planet of the apes. And this version of it was a very competently executed version of these movies. Really a remix of past movies in this franchise, I think, and did a very solid job doing that. But yeah, people still turned out for it in a big way, and that's why it ended up number 6. Any other thoughts on Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes making $171 million this summer?
I hope this means that we get more.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely want that. Yeah.
I think more people would have been talking about this movie if the Matt Reeves movies didn't happen. Do you know what I mean? Those were so good. This I think is better than a lot of the originals, but it just wasn't as good as Dawn or do you know what I mean?
It also doesn't exist without those movies,
Yeah. Right. Yes.
So I do agree.
Literally, the opening scene literally is
that, yeah.
the last scene from the last Planet of the Apes movies, right?
Yeah.
It kind of hands the torch off right from there. So, but yeah, Peter, I guess if this was the first thing we'd seen since the Tim Burton movies, everyone would have lost their mind. I don't know what scenario.
Oh, there isn't a scenario. I'm just saying. I think this movie was kind of judged a little harshly against the Matt Reeves movies. Is basically what I'm basically saying.
Oh yeah, totally.
Well, I did this series on the Filmcast where I watched every single Planet of the Apes movies, and I have to say, the Matt Reeves films. Well, first of all, everyone thinks of it as the Matt Reeves trilogy. He really only directed the second and the third one.
Right. Rupert Sanders.
Rupert Wyatt.
Wyatt. Yeah.
Rupert
right.
Wyatt, right? Yeah.
Rupert Sanders is a guy though, but it's not him. Yeah.
Correct.
He is a director.
Wrong Rupert.
Classic wrong Rupert situation.
But anyway, yeah. So those 3 movies I thought really added meaningfully to the mythology, and I don't think that Kingdom really does that much. So many of the most memorable things from Kingdom, in my opinion, are just stuff that was done in previous movies. In my opinion. Having now seen, I hadn't seen them all when I watched Kingdom, but now having seen them all, I feel like that's the case. And so I think some of the criticisms are deserved in this case, but it's still a very solid, enjoyable film.
Yeah. solid, enjoyable, and I think it is a good table setter for like if when they make more. I'm sure they'll make more. Whether it'll be West Ball or not, we'll see. But yeah, like there's more. I like the movie a lot, but I left wanting to see more of the story that it's set up, as opposed to the story.
One of the things that I will say that this movie does that the older movies did that I like is it ends on the cliffhanger. Basically, like or not a cliffhanger necessarily, but like it basically
a tease,
ends with like, hey, you want to see what's coming next, basically, which the Matt Reeves movies didn't really do. So these movies, or this movie, I should say, really does make you wonder, hey, what's coming next, and I think that's kind of cool. All right, so that's number 6, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Number 7, A Quiet Place, Day One, which made $138.9 million. Now, let's see. Germain put this at number 9. Peter put this at number 10. I put this at number 6. BJ put this at number 5. BJ, let's talk about this, okay? Because you and I had this highest, right? Right. I mean, what did you think? Do you think that this movie should have made more money? What are your thoughts on A Quiet Place Day One?
Absolutely, this should have made more money because this is the best movie in this franchise. I said what I said. It is so good. I loved this movie, and everyone that I saw this movie with loved this movie, and people were talking about how much they loved this movie. And then it just stopped making money, and I don't understand. What do you people want?
I gotta agree with Jeff Kanata what he said during our review of A Quiet Place Day One, which is, so I enjoyed the movie as well. I think like you should check it out. It's not bad or anything, but I didn't like the movie has 2 leads. You can see them in the poster, and I thought like the dude that Lupita Nyong'o's with, I didn't think was a particularly interesting character. And then also, I don't think this movie delivered on the promise of calling it A Quiet Place Day One.
I agree.
You would think that it would like kind of introduce all these ideas of like what was it like when we dealt with that on day one, and it's like, oh, it's just another Quiet Place movie.
That all happens while she gets knocked out. She's like, what's exactly the thing? Knock out, and they have it all figured out. And I'm like,
you wake up and
the movie I want to see.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yada 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 is the title of the movie.
Right? Yes,
and that wouldn't necessarily be an issue if the trailers hadn't also promised that. It's like, find out what happened when the world went quiet, or it was like very much like, we're gonna show you the origins of this whole, and then it's really just,
it's like we already did this exact thing in 20 minutes in the last movie. Here it is again in a different place with new characters that you don't care about as much until the end.
Right. What if A Quiet Place in a different city, basically, is what
hard
is
disagree.
What it was,
Oh my God.
Yeah. All right.
I will say that,
go ahead.
I will say this is a year for sure where I think a lot of people's feelings about movies were hampered like extremely by the marketing campaign. The amount of people I saw that were like, I hate the movie Abigail because the marketing, gave the first 20 minutes away, therefore the movie felt long. That's not the movie's fault. That's the marketing's fault. And so I love Day One so much because I do love these characters, and I think Joseph Quinn was great in this, but I totally understand why people would be like, but that's not the movie I thought I was getting, and feel disappointed by it.
And I think I would add to that side is that what you guys did get right about this, putting it a little higher here, is that horror was a hit here. Like this was the biggest horror movie of the summer. And then if you look down at the list, there are other horror movies that maybe didn't make the top 10, but did really well. And so you guys had that right, and you had this right. It was just like this much off, But I think the appetite for horror was there. This was the biggest horror movie. We all kind of knew it, and you guys got it better than the rest of us. So, but yeah, I like the movie, but like I said, I was disappointed. But I'm glad you guys also liked it.
I think Paramount should have used my suggested title, New York City Day One, A Quiet Place Adventure. Like that would have done a lot better, I think.
Based on the novel by Sapphire.
Based on the novel by Sapphire. That's right. Electric Boogaloo. Like that would have done. Yeah. That would have gotten the audiences into the theater more, I think. Okay. So that's A Quiet Place Day One. None of us got it dead on.
Speaking of none of us,
I came the closest at number. I put it at number 6. It ended up being number 7. One of my rare almost wins this this summer season. Speaking of none of us, number 8 at the summer box office, It Ends With Us, which made $135 million. Now, if you look at the Summer Movie Wager website, next to each of our names, it shows like how many points we got for this choice. Just a complete blank row on this one.
Blank.
It's a goose egg.
Pretty
Goose egg.
rare to not have a movie in anybody's list or Dark Horse.
Or Dark
selections.
Horses, that's right. We completely missed this. BJ, are you the only one here? Has anyone else seen? I know BJ's seen it.
I saw it.
Oh, Jermaine saw it as well. Okay, so
I don't even know what this is, Dave.
You're better off not knowing.
It's a bad thing.
He still doesn't know.
BJ Colangelo, I think you like. My sense is you're very familiar with this franchise and we're really into this movie, or at least familiar with the movie.
I'm not into this movie. I'm not into this book. I'm not into the fandom that surrounds this book and or movie. I despise all of it, to be completely clear. And it also bothers the hell out of me because given the subject matter of this movie,
Yes,
it becomes an impossible movie to critique. Because if it does mean something to somebody, if it does help somebody,
right.
then to critique the movie feels like you're critiquing that person, which is kind of, from a business standpoint, a genius trap to put everybody in. But
I use the same approach to the Filmcast, by the way, as well. Like, do you know how much this podcast means to people? Whenever people try to criticize anything about it, you know. So
yeah, I also think that anybody because I've seen a couple of like film pundits do this where they're like, this was the Barbie surprise this summer. Absolutely not. I will throat chop you. No, not even in the same universe. That's misogynist. No.
Let me just say, by the way, like, I'm sorry. I thought I saw enthusiastic Insta stories from BJ Colangelo about this movie. So if I misread the Insta stories,
you did
or if it
not
wasn't for me,
see that. You saw me being
well,
very upset about people's reactions at screenings to this movie.
I think you were upset by people's reactions because they were positive. Is that right?
No, I was upset by people's reactions because I will say that the problem that this movie has is that it is simultaneously a dreamy, fantastical rom-com and also, spoiler alert for a book, and you know what? They didn't say it in the marketing, so that sucks, and that was a fall on there too. This is a movie about domestic violence. And the domestic violence stuff, they did do very tastefully, very accurately. And unfortunately, one of the scenes that is a scene of domestic violence that is like psychological manipulation is almost word for word something that a former abusive partner of mine did. And I was in a theater where people thought that was the funniest thing in the world. And I was like, I hate this. This movie set up everyone in this room to fail because the tone is so wild that the second this happens, people laugh because they think it's funny or it's, uncomfortable or whatever because it doesn't fit in the rest of the movie. And meanwhile, I'm sitting there like, no, but this is where they got it right, and no one understands that. Movie sucks. I hate
super
it.
Guilty because I was in the same theater as BJ, and I'm 95% sure I laughed when you mentioned that. It's because I went to see the movie because my wife is a big book talker and had read the book and enjoyed the book and was like, I want to see the movie, so we went. But I didn't know what it was about. I'd seen the trailers. I knew there was something, right? And then and it's like you said, it's very weird. And you pretty much can pick up it's about abuse or something. But tonally is very weird. And the whole thing, the kind of hook here, without spoiling too much, is that you see it from the perspective of like she's being gaslit. And so you kind of don't know. So I didn't know that it was about that until you kind of get a reveal. So you're like, oh, this is so funny and weird. And then you're like, oh shit, I laughed at something that I shouldn't have because of this. So yeah, I actually thought the movie was kind of effective. But again, I have no connection to it. I just kind of went in like so blank. I went in Jeff Kanata, like totally like no idea what any of this is. So yeah, I did laugh there and I apologize for that. But it was because the movie was weird. And I think it was weird that they didn't reveal that. But I think it was also a big enough title, I think, that most people probably knew who wanted to see it. The fans that came out for the $135 million, which is obviously above and beyond what they expected, I'm sure. Now they want to do the sequel. Will the sequel happen because of the stuff with the
drama?
Yeah, so much stuff, which obviously probably just draws more box office too.
Oh, totally. This is like the don't worry, darling effect of bunch of drama behind the scenes got people to come out and turn out. But, I will say it was very weird how they marketed this movie where it was like, it ends with us. Here's a floral shop pop-up. And I'm like, why is there an Instagrammable like influencer event for a movie about domestic violence? What has happened to the world?
Right.
Wild
Absolutely.
shit.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So sorry for the misread, BJ.
You're good. It gave me an excuse to just go off on this. So
yes,
I feel good now. I feel like a weight has been lifted off of my shoulders. I'm zen again. I love it.
Sometimes I like to say that somebody thinks the opposite of what they actually feel, so that they can come in with their actual opinion super duper
That's
strong.
like our entire relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the dynamic the podcast is built off.
I've been walking a fine line all summer about this movie because again, like, you know, this is such a popular book talk. I don't want to disparage anyone who does feel something for this movie,
right?
But it ain't me.
Right. Definitely. This is how I feel whenever I talk about Star Wars with near Peter Sciretta. You know, like. I don't necessarily like it, but I also know that it means something to a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, but it's okay. You know,
that was the boldest statement I've ever heard somebody say live on air for the masses to hear. That is the bravest thing you've. Oh my god!
Take a bow, Dave.
Oh,
you don't like Star Wars like a weird people.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Although he did go to Galaxy's Edge for the first time last week with me, and he did love that.
That was amazing. That was, in fact, incredible. Anyway.
Wow.
Okay.
Baby steps.
But by the way, I looked up to see if there was ever a time that like we all didn't get a movie.
Last year.
And yeah, it was last year, Sound of Freedom. Yeah. But there was also some previous years. There was like Grown Ups we didn't get for some reason. Or maybe that predated the podcast. Like that was
in
Totally Rad Show.
In 2019, the year before the pandemic, none of us had John Wick Chapter 3 in the top 10.
They were on Dark Horses.
We out in Dark Horses, but like none of us thought it would be number 6. And
I think that was a time of release issue though for that movie. I think it came out in like late August or something, and we were like, "There's no way."
Right.
But the goose egg here for a studio film is pretty crazy because Sound of Freedom wasn't like a big studio release. It kind of rode a weird, whatever conservative wave to its success. But here for a movie, like I'm sure I don't even remember like seeing it on the list. It was probably just one of those titles. Like if I don't know the title, it's definitely not going to be in the top 10. You know? And that is my stupid maleness being.
That's
like,
called hubris.
Yes, it is.
Hubris.
Yeah. And in the TRS days in 2009, no one had the proposal, not even on their Dark Horses.
Yeah.
BJ, did you have any inkling that this movie would do as well as it did? You know, kind of.
I didn't think it was gonna.
You didn't put in your.
Yeah, I didn't think it was gonna do this well. I thought it would do perfectly fine. Didn't put it in my top 10, but you know what? That's what I get for underestimating book talk. That was my bad.
Indeed. Well, I mean, all of us. I mean, the only reason you are, I'm specifically singling you out, is because you were aware of this book's existence before us. None of us even had any inkling of what it was. So to even put, like, we all had Germain's attitude of, well, if we didn't hear about it, it's probably not going to be a factor in the top 10. And of course, every one of us was extremely silly and wrong in this regard. So. Yet another blind spot. It ends with us, number 8, $135 million. Okay, we're getting to the end here. Number 9 at the domestic box office, If. John Krasinski's If, which made $111 million. Only Peter and I had this in our top 10 list. I hit it dead on at number 9.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Somehow very appropriate. I don't know why, but you can read that how you want.
Meaning that my insight is sometimes unexpected, but always sharp and cutting. Is that what you're trying to say?
That your skills are an imaginary friend. I don't know. We gotta keep going on. I don't know.
Ryan Reynolds with a combined $771 million summer.
Yeah.
He also wrote scenes in It Ends With Us, but
right. Right. Ryan Reynolds responsible in key ways.
Yeah.
And also John Krasinski's got the producer money from Quiet Place, and then he's got this.
Yeah.
Yep.
True.
Yep. And those are two guys that need more nice things to happen to them.
Big year for white men. They did it.
They did it, guys.
Wow, the streak continues.
We've been waiting. We've been waiting.
Undefeated.
Anyway, I did not even watch this movie. Peter, have you seen it? Have any of us seen this movie?
I saw it.
Okay,
it's hot garbage.
It's so bad.
Yeah,
it's terrible. And I liked I like the Quiet Place movies. I generally like Krasinski. Like I like the thing he did over COVID and stuff. I know. But this was just such a swing and a miss. It's like an okay idea that he has had no idea what to do with it. But I think it was so early on in the summer that sort of Inside Out 2 Despicable Me thing that we saw play out later. This was kind of the beginnings of it, the kind of origins of like, we need that family movie. Let's go see this. And then nobody talked about it because it's terrible. It's very, very bad. But I mean, hey, I put it as a dark horse. Did I write? Yeah, dark horse. Because he assumed there was like something there. And then I was hoping it was going to be good because I thought the idea was pretty interesting. But it's very, very bad. It's almost the so bad it's good thing that if you watch with a bunch of friends and laughed at it, you would enjoy it. That's how kind of bad I think it is.
All I'm going to say is if you thought this was a very cool idea, there's another thing that you can watch that's about imaginary friends in search of new kids, including the main imaginary friend being named Blue, and it's called Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, a cartoon on Cartoon Network from like over a decade ago.
Yeah, that show's pretty good. Well, Germain, I know you were almost not going to put this in your dark horses, but might have been a decisive decition for you to have put it there.
It was, what? It worked out.
Point.
Might have made a difference.
1 point, just that 1 point there. They can't really mean anything.
All right, so that's number 9, If, which made $111 million. Number 10 at the box office, The Fall Guy. This one's the real heartbreaker, guys. Right?
Truly, this is my biggest heartbreak of the whole summer because
so $92 million does not even crack $100 million, right?
Unreal.
I adore this movie. I loved it. I just thought it was so delightful from start to finish. It felt like it had everything that you could want. It seemed to me. It just was so charming and light and fun. It just felt like the quintessential summer experience. Go to the movies, have a fun time, laugh. Watch two charming people fall in love with each other. I just thought it was. I don't understand why it didn't catch with anybody.
I think if I remember correctly, I think I'd seen it already, and that's why I put it pretty high because I had that. I was like, oh, this is such a crowd pleaser. It's going to do great. And obviously did not, which was just wild. And I think I think people maybe at that point early on in the summer are waiting for the streaming. Maybe they just Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. As much as Ryan Gosling had a great year with Barbie, he's not the draw on Barbie. Barbie's the draw, then Margot Robbie. So I think maybe it just didn't have the star power that a movie like this needs. And The Fall Guy is obviously not like a big IP hook that people know, like Twisters. Most people probably didn't even know what's IP. So I think it's a really good movie, not competent. But I think everything around it kind of just didn't quite hit that Hollywood blockbuster formula.
The movie's great. I'm the only one that didn't have it on the top 10. I had it as a dark horse. And I don't know if I can say this, Dave. But literally, if I thought this was going to be 11 of the summer, ended up being number 10. And the movie that's in the 11 spot was less than $1 million. It was less than $1 million difference. And that $1 million was everything.
It's like
for me.
3 servings of lasagna.
Yeah. Right. Like if the number 11 movie had made $1 million more in the time frame, Peter Sciretta not only would have won, he would have smashed it. He would have completely run away with the whole thing. Right. Yeah. But that $1 million,
one freaking million.
I hate how tight this is in an election year. I'm so stressed out thinking about how.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Good point.
My skin is crawling.
By the way,
I
thought this was stressful. Yeah, this was stressful, BJ. You should have seen the polling beforehand.
By the way, we were all emailing back and forth. This is the one year that we didn't do a tiebreaker. We thought there might be a chance that there's tie.
Hold on. Okay, here's what happened. Let me explain this. Okay, this is my bad. Okay, so first of all, we should have done a tiebreaker. We should have done a tiebreaker at the beginning of the year. Last year, I think we just guessed like what the number one movie would make. And
Yes.
When have we ever needed a tiebreaker, guys?
Exactly. In general, we have not needed a tiebreaker, but this year it came really close, and it's like, oh man, like I don't know how we're going to do this because everyone already knows what all the movies are making in terms of box office. So I said, hey, how about this? I need the two people who are most likely to win this thing to tell me how much money the number 10 movie is going to make. Because we don't even know what the number 10 movie is going to be. So tell me what the number 10 movie is going to make in terms of box office. And then Peter Sciretta was one of those people, and he just never responded to my email. He never gave me the tiebreaker answer.
Well, first of all, the other person was like, Dave, we don't need to do this. It's not going to happen. There's no chance of it happening.
That was
So I was like, you know what? If it comes to a tie, let the other person win. Let the other person
really?
win.
Yeah. You were going to surrender.
Sure.
My suggestion was, if it comes to a tie, each person gets to suggest a half-hour show that we have to watch.
Yeah. But anyway, I was pretty miffed about that, Peter, because you almost put us in a really tough spot. If this,
no, I would have lost by default in that case, Dave.
I guess.
I know we're going to talk about the winner and the dark horses and stuff, but here we just talked about Fall Guy being a big disappointment, and BJ teased this real quick. Is that Furiosa made $67 million.
I can't talk about it. It hurts me. It physically pains me.
It's ridiculous. I'm looking at the movies that beat it. It's like I tried to find it on like the list of the year on like Box Office Mojo, and I'm like, Bob Marley, One Love, Wonka came out last year and outgrossed it. Like Migration, Mean Girls. I was like, when did the remake? Right, you had to like forget about it, and then all the way down there, number 24 of the year. Furiosa, which I think we all put pretty high on this, right? Like,
I think all of us had it in the top 10, didn't we?
Yeah.
Crazy. That might be one of the biggest misses we've ever had.
I had it 8. Peter had it 7.
I had it number 5. BJ had it at number 4.
I sure did.
Yeah.
And Devindra had it at number 4 as well.
Anyway. Yeah, I mean that's the summer right there. You know, that's the whole thing.
The delta between all of us having it in our top 10 and it being 24th
of the year, not the summer, but yes.
Wild.
Yeah.
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
think
what a movie. What an awesome movie.
Fantastic. But I think it also kind of the Fall Guy thing where it's like maybe the IP didn't quite have that staying power. And as much as we love Anya Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth, they just didn't have the star power either. And they're awesome actors who are fantastic in that movie. And it's a fantastic
I don't know
movie.
how you can argue that those two don't have star. I mean,
I think that there's above the title star power. You know, the star is Furiosa, who is actually, you know, the lead character in a movie called Mad Max. So maybe it's just a little. And we all got it wrong. We don't think that it didn't matter.
My colleague Scott Mendelson has a saying he likes to say about certain actors. He's like, "Are they butts and seats movie stars? Like, are they people who can get butts and seats?" And in his opinion, and I share it, Anya Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth are not butts and seats movie stars. Like Chris Hemsworth, his biggest successes have all been IP-driven stuff. You know.
What about his Netflix action thing that was like crushed on Netflix?
It's literally butts and seats referring to butts and seats in theaters, so it's literally not even the same thing. Yeah, I think, but to be fair, I think there's very few people that fall into that category. Glenn Powell being one of them, Chalamet being another, but like, it's not like there's like 50 of them out there. You know, there's a very few that fall into that category. But going back to the Fall Guy. Yeah, I think I remember the internet, film Twitter collectively freaking out about this when this movie didn't do well. And I think that the reason people thought, the feeling I got from people freaking out was, what do you guys want? Like, what, you guys being the general public, like, what does the general public want? If they don't want this, we are truly effed, you know? And I think it's because it's like kind of not an original IP, but like basically an original IP to this audience. Old school romance with actual stunts. It kind of felt like the quote unquote best of what Hollywood could deliver. And if audiences aren't into this, then truly the industry is in a bad state. Now, I think there's actually still a lot of truth to that sentiment. The movies that did well, like, are really super CG heavy spectacles that are based on IP. And so the alarmism is warranted to some degree. But I also think, as we discussed during our main review of The Fall Guy, this was not a movie that felt like an event. Maybe the marketing let it down, like let it down in the sense of didn't make it feel like you have to go out and see this. You cannot just wait for streaming on this one. You have to go out and see it in theaters now, which is the bar that needs to be crossed now for these movies. And that's what ended up happening.
It's a wild thing. It occurs to me that when I was growing up, the proposition was, hey, look what your favorite actor is doing next. Look what Arnold Schwarzenegger is doing next. Look what, whatever the biggest movie star is, look what they're doing next. And it seems like that's not the hook for modern audiences.
Absolutely.
The hook is now, there's a thing that you already love.
Yep.
You will continue to love it if you go see it again.
Yeah.
That is, and studios and money people are like, okay, we got to double down on that. We got to find things that people already love and give them more of it. It's so, and I think that speaks to the movie star thing. It's not like, hey, there's an actor who does a thing and you love her, and so go to the movies and see what she's doing now. There just isn't that. It's like, what? Oh, that actor in the thing that I already love? Cool. But I like it because I already love that thing. And I don't think that's better. I don't think that's better because we're going to run out of things and it's just going to be this constant regurgitation of stuff we already love.
Yeah, the box office has become less about great movie stars, great stories, and more about inspiring FOMO into other people. You have to make the audience feel like if they are not part of this cultural juggernaut, then they have missed out, they are lost, and that no one is going to have anything to talk about them or talk with them about. And that is bleak. That is a bleak scenario for all of us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, that is the number 10 pick at the box office this summer, The Fall Guy, with $92.9 million. A few more things to mention. Let's talk about what barely missed the top 10. The Garfield movie, as Peter Sciretta already indicated, made $91 million. It almost came in 10th place, less than $1 million away. Peter, full credit to you. Like, I thought this was going to be in the top 10, and you were going to, like, none of us had in our top 10s. So, like, if it was in the top 10 at all, Peter would have really put some points on the board there. Peter, did you end up watching the Garfield movie?
No. I have no interest in that movie, Dave. But I thought it was. Oh no, $1 million, Dave. $1 million.
Well, speaking of like $1 or $2 million, Alien Romulus came in 12th place with $91 million. This came a lot closer to the top 10 than I think any of us thought it would. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, fortunately, it's also an extremely good movie. That
it was the release date. It came out so late. There's no way it could make, and especially we didn't think number 10 was going to be 90 million. Usually number 10 is a little bit more than that. So to make like $110 million in like 2-3 weeks would have been difficult, which we were correct with. It has since been made that, but we were right. But it was so close, wasn't it?
But four of us had it as dark horses. So we were like, oh, just in case. We'll put it there. But this is another case of, Dave, if this made $1.3 million more, there'd be a different winner.
It could have changed the whole game. Could have changed the whole game if it made
1 or 2 points is really important.
Yeah, it literally would have made the difference between who won and who didn't win.
The last weekend was I was just watching the numbers return for Alien Romulus, and voted, and maybe I was going against it because I didn't want it to get there as much as I love the film.
How close it is just makes it all the more galling that Peter Sciretta never responded to my email about the tiebreaker question, but anyway. And then finally, number 13, guys, this is a movie that came shockingly close to the top 10, and that is Longlegs, which made $78 million. Or sorry, $73 million.
Which is a lot less than, 91. So... But yeah, to be in that place.
There was a time like it debuted so strong. I was like, maybe if it's got long legs, maybe it's gonna make it. Maybe it's gonna make it. Right?
And I think even the wildest predictions by the studio never thought it would make this much money. It's one of their top grossing films of all time.
Neon's like most successful film ever, I think. Right. So yeah.
I think they'd be very happy to know that they're the almost birthday girl. So
absolutely. Yeah. All right. Okay, so those are the other things that almost made it to the top 10. Now it's time to talk about the embarrassing things. You already brought up Furiosa. Every single one of us had this in the top 10 of the summer. It didn't even come close. I think, I'm going to put this out there too, is BJ, you were kind of or some combination of you guys were describing like what it is people want to see. It's like something reinvented. And I think one of the reasons the Furiosa thing is so heartbreaking is it felt like what people would actually want. Like the first Mad Max Fury Road movie did relatively well. It made like a couple $100 million, right? 150, 200, right? And so it felt like, oh, you want the same thing, but kind of like with a fresh look and feel. Furiosa Mad Max Saga, it felt like, oh, this is what the audiences want, but it's like audiences did not want this at all, unfortunately. And the thing that really breaks my heart about it is George Miller would have made another Mad Max movie if this had done really well.
Yeah.
And now we're probably never going to get that. I don't understand if you're a billionaire who likes art, why you don't just like help fund these things personally. I guess people do.
I mean, that's why we have the.
It's called Skydance, but anyway. But I wish, I wish like people would give George Miller like hundreds of millions of dollars to make his movies. Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame. Anyone else have any thoughts on the Furiosa, which is one of the movies we chose that was not in the top 10 at all?
I mean, if this is the last Mad Max movie that George Miller makes, at least it's a great one.
Yes.
Agreed.
Went out on a strong note.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm sorry, folks, but I have to call out some of the picks that people made that did not come anywhere close to the top 10.
There's only one other big one, I think.
There's one other big one, and that is Horizon and American Saga.
Thank God!
Chapter 1. This movie, who put it in their top 10?
Germain at number 7.
Yeah.
Germain,
there's
no way anybody could win putting this movie at number 7.
Germain Lussier put this at number 7.
That's what I said before. I was going for that middle America. I was like, this is the summer of Westerns and of cowboy hats.
Here's the thing. Here's the problem with that logic is I think Germain wants to put these movies like Top Gun Maverick and Twisters that are going to appeal to, more of America than our typical Hollywood elite movies. The problem is Germain doesn't understand how much people don't like Westerns, at least in the current era we're in, right?
That's true.
That is counteracted. I was listening to a podcast about how Kevin Costner is going to try to make his money back because he's invested tens of millions of dollars of his own money into this movie. And they're saying like, oh, well, international box office is usually a way to make this back. Unfortunately, the two least popular international genres are Westerns and baseball movies. It is
Kevin
among
Costner movies, I think.
the least.
I guess
popular...
I'm throwing my Westerns baseball script out, but that's just me.
I think, for a time in Hollywood, Westerns were like every other movie that came out in Hollywood was a Western. Now that time has passed. Horizon and American Saga.
Stagecoach is taking us all to the ball game. Sorry, David.
That's the title. That's the title.
I mean, apologies to Kevin Costner. Not everyone can be M. Night Shyamalan and self-finance their movies and come out on top.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he tried to fly too close to M. Night's status. But
I think
Horizon...
the big problem here is that did anybody else see it? I saw it. Anybody else?
I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's actually pretty good. I think the chapter 1 of it is like, this is why Universal's not saying that for Wicked. They don't want you to know that's only part of the story, right? It's like the Dune. It's called Dune until the very end, and then it's like Dune Part 1. So I think him kind of calling it chapter 1, I mean, I think is a lesser factor, but is a factor. And then also he didn't know how to make a movie that was a chapter 1. Like there's no cliffhanger. It's just kind of like pretty cool movie, pretty interesting story, pretty interesting characters, and stop. And then you put the trailer that doesn't even have like a fade to black. It's just like the next shot. You're like, what is the shot? And then you realize you're watching a trailer, and then the credits roll. And I was like, kind of like, okay, I'm interested in this. And then that happened. And I was like, Costner, what the fuck are you doing, man? You ever seen you seen Back to the Future? You seen Back to the Future 2? You seen like anything that has a cliffhanger in it? So yeah, I think if it was better, it could have obviously, if the reviews were kind of like, really great, that could have bolstered it. I thought maybe with the film festival premieres that it actually was good. and I think it's okay, but it's not. It wasn't definitely not good enough, and it was definitely a blunder by myself.
Other than the parts criticizing Kevin Costner, I think everything Germain says is completely delusional. By the way, Horizon and American Saga made $29 million. Oh yeah, Germain. If it got some positive reviews, it might have made like $5 million more, maybe, bringing it to the shocking total of $34 million. There's no way this movie was going to do well.
Can I tell you let me tell you my astute analysis of this movie, and it's going to sound like I'm making a joke. I believe this 100%. I think Kevin Costner picked the wrong hat. The hat he's wearing in this movie is doofy. He picks a cooler looking cowboy hat. This movie makes $100 million. It's a doofy hat.
Here's the
Jeff,
thing. I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, I kind of agree. It's way too big.
It doesn't look cool.
He looks like a soccer mom.
Doofy, like what? We're gonna go see this cowboy movie. This guy, he looks like Kevin Costner picked the wrong hat and tanked his movie.
All right. Let us talk about some of the things we chose as dark horses that didn't make it into the top 10 at all. Fly Me to the Moon. Remember that when that was a thing, guys? Remember when Fly Me to the Moon was a thing that happened?
Another terrible one.
That is a real movie that was actually released in theaters. But yes, Fly Me to the Moon did not do very well and was not very well reviewed and did not make it into the top 10. Several of us put Trap in our dark horses. I put Trap. BJ put Trap. A movie I think we both enjoyed, right, BJ?
Oh, hell yeah, I enjoyed Trap.
Yes. Yes, I quite liked it as well. $42 million.
Bomb, though.
Domestic. You never know when one of these M. Nights is going to break out. You just never know. And so putting it on the dark horse is a very reasonable decision, in my opinion. What else did we... Oh, yeah, several of us put Alien Romulus, which was almost a thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Devindra put Maxine as a dark horse.
Devindra put Maxine as dark horse, which is I wish he was here so I could give him a hard time about that, because that movie was still, I think, the most successful of the trilogy, but it only made $15 million. So I
missed it by that much.
I have no idea what on God's green earth he was thinking when he put that there.
They got an extra $100 out of me because I bought that Maxine jacket very fast.
Oh, wow. Wow. And I think that's it. I think that basically covers everything. So,
all right. Well, I guess we're done with the episode. No need to talk about who won.
I guess we're done with the episode. There's no other business needs to be taken care of.
Great chatting with you guys. Thank you for having me once again.
All right. I'm also going to put this out there. We have to acknowledge that every year we allow listeners in our audience to compete in the Summer Movie Wager as well. And
not just allow, we welcome it.
I was going to say allow was like you. Yeah,
we're honored that they would want to compete.
We tolerate it when they compete. And we want to again
suffer their entries.
We want to give a big shout out to Dennis, who makes the summermoviewager.com, who makes this possible. So there's a global leaderboard that's just anyone, and then also there is a Slack group about the podcast at slackfilmcast.com that they have their own competition as well. And so I would like to name the people who won both competitions. So there is a user named BGE, real name Zach C, who won the global leaderboard this year with 81 points.
Well, technically it's a tie, but yes.
Yes. Technically it's a tie, you're right. And not only did he win this year, but he also won the global leaderboard in 2017.
That's pretty awesome.
Which is incredible. And
Zach, by the way, to give you an idea, the highest person this year was 65 on our team, our group.
Yeah, so not even close. Not even close to.
And this is over 3,300 players to win 2 years in a row out of that pool of players. That's pretty.
Well, not
pretty
in a row,
impressive.
but 2 years ever.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, 2 years.
See, this is why
Zach writes in. Yeah, go ahead.
I was saying, this is why you tolerate the global leaderboard, because it's an embarrassment to the rest of us.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh, yes.
Zach writes, first of all, thank you so much for running this game. It's a joy to be able to play and follow along through the summer. My name is Zach Clark from Seattle, and I would just like to let you know I really enjoy listening to your podcast. Thanks. That's the note that Zach sent in. Also, in the Slack group, there is a user named Ali Nasser, who also got 81 points this year. And check out his work at thealinasser.com. That's TheAlinasser.com. Congrats to both Ali and Zach for crushing it this year on the Summer Movie Wager.
One of the things that I love, and I hear a lot from people that email me, people that order limericks from me, I hear so often that people run their own Summer Movie Wager groups.
At their office. Or,
among friends or whatever. It is such a cool thing. Again, we stole this idea back in 2007 from some now defunct website, but I'm so glad we did. Because it's cool that
it's bringing people together. Bringing people together. All right. Well, that brings us to the big reveal of who won this year's Summer Movie Wager on the Filmcast. So I'm now going to count down from 6th through 1st what each person scored. In 6th place with 45 points this year, Devendra Hardawar. Really wish he was here. I could give him a ton of shit about it, but yes, he did get Despicable Me for Dead On number 3, but yeah, that's about as good as he did. In 5th place with 51 points and 0% chance of winning halfway through the summer, Jeff Kanata,
not last. Woo! Not last.
There you go.
In 4th place in her inaugural debut here on the Summer Movie Wager with 52 points, BJ Colangelo.
And let me say, there was like 1 week there where I was in 1st and I was like, and then it immediately went away.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a bad idea to be in 1st in the
early on
in the summer.
yeah. The Summer Movie Wager and poker tournaments, both things where you don't want to be doing really well at the beginning because by the end the things will change. In 3rd place with 54 points and doing the best out of anyone on the normal Filmcast podcast is the great David Chen. That's me. I got 3rd place.
Made the podium. You made the podium.
I
Dave.
made the podium.
Yeah.
By the way, David, you had 33 points last year, so you've gotten better. not quite good enough, but you gotten better.
33.
Yeah.
Really? That feels like a mistake, Peter.
Well, mistakes were made. That's for sure.
I mean, I have to say, looking at this year's versus last year's, like our points totals are way higher this year.
Yeah.
Anyway, coming in 2nd place with 64 points this year, it's Peter Sciretta. Congratulations, Peter. As Jerry Seinfeld put it, out of all the people that lost, no one lost better than you. So
you lost the least.
Out of all the people that sucked at doing this, you're the best out of all the people that sucked. So nicely done, Peter Sciretta. And coming in 1st place with 65 points. So just 1 point above the 2nd place winner. Like literally choose a dark horse differently and it would have made the difference. But coming in 1st place this year, it's Germain Lussier. Congratulations, Germain.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Truly is our Top Gun.
It took years to get vindication from my Top Gun, but we made it. It was stressful the whole way through. I straight up thought Alien was going to make enough money to not get Fall Guy out, and then at which point Peter would have won, and I would have gladly watched whatever Peter picked if that happened, but I was glad it didn't because I had been waiting for this moment for 5 years. So thank you very much.
By the end, I think everyone was rooting for you, Jermaine, because that would have meant that Peter won 3 years in a row.
Right, which would have been an unacceptable.
Absolutely.
Unacceptable. Yes, unacceptable.
I thought for a second, I was like, what if I can find people that have AMC A-list? I could just like tweet out, right? Because $1 million in box office, think about this, like $1 million in box office means that I just got to find like 3,000 people to book 3 tickets. There are 3 movies to Garfield.
I don't think you're doing the math right on that, Peter.
No, it's not. But it's I understand the sentiment.
Peter has, I think, around 400,000 subscribers on Ordinary Adventures. If even half of them bought a ticket to Garfield, he would have won the summer movie wager, right?
Garfield was out of theaters by then, though. So
I would
need
30,000.
Yeah, you need 30,000.
I'm
sorry. I don't think you're doing the math.
It did seem weird that Ordinary Adventures posted all of those pro Garfield movie videos.
Yeah, that was some weird Garfield Spawn con.
Very odd
at the end there. All right. So anyway, congratulations to Germain. My wife wanted to show up with her Justice for Germain poster again this year.
That was sweet. Yeah, sent me a nice message on Threads. Was very excited for me. That was very nice.
Yeah. So congrats to Germain Lussier, and also unseated Peter Sciretta, which is definitely something that
is the main thing.
He had to get got. He had to get got.
Yes.
And
it
you
got
him,
it was very too close for comfort. But hey, we got I know you mentioned it many times while we were recording, Germain, but it is very impressive how many films you got dead on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That is very impressive.
You got 5 films dead on. Yeah. Very impressive.
The gentleman we were just talking about, Zach, he only got 6.
Yeah.
But he had 81 points, which was way more points than I had because he got number 10 right and everything. But
all right, so Germain Lussier, let's not beat around the bush anymore.
Sure you don't want it? You sure don't want to beat around the bush anymore?
Yeah. Let us know what is the movie or TV show you will be inflicting on the losers of the summer movie wager this year.
All right. Well, I don't know if you guys have been noticing. I've been drinking my water bottle.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
High School Musical.
I try not to pay attention.
No. And so a lot of people who follow me on social media or something know I love the High School Musical movies, right? But it's a really popular Disney Channel series that most people consider cheesy and bad. That's just too obvious. That's just too obvious. I can't go with that. There is an unofficial sequel. It's called Sharpay's Fabulous Adventure, which is one of Austin Butler's first movies. It's so bad. But that's almost... No, again, it's too easy. Last time I won, I went with Pain. I went with Slackers, a very, very bad movie. But I am taking a page from Mr. Peter Sciretta here, where he gave us the movie Go 2 years ago, and that was for pleasure. He wanted to send the world out there. He regretted it and went with Pain last year. With Fateful Findings. Yeah. So I'm going the opposite way. I inflicted pain last year. This year, I'm inflicting pleasure. I am picking a movie that I adore. I know someone else here adores, BJ, that I think does not get the justice it has. And with this platform on this awesome podcast, I want people to watch it. I want people to adore it. So I have a question. Do you guys like The Breakfast Club?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what if hypothetically The Breakfast Club became the Beatles? What if the People in Detention made a band that became the most popular band in the world? Ladies and gentlemen, for the summer movie wager, we are going to be watching the Disney Channel original movie Lemonade Mouth.
Lemonade Mouth.
Determinate. Let's go.
It's a fantastic, underrated, star-studded Disney Channel original musical. Incredible songs. There are some stars you'd recognize in it. A lot of people before they got super famous are in it. And it is not Pain. I think it's a fun for the whole family. It's absolutely, and like I said, it's so good that I'm using the spot to spread the word, spread the gospel of Lemonade Mouth.
I'm
so I should watch this with my kids.
Absolutely.
Wow. Yes.
So I actually, when I saw BJ on Twitter or something said like one of your podcasts was about this, and I messaged her and I was like, if I happen to win, that's what I'm picking. I shouldn't tell you.
Wow.
I was like, I'm so excited. She's like, oh, that would be awesome. And I was like, oh, I don't think we had a chance. And I immediately, after I picked Slackers last time, I'm glad I picked Slackers because that's a movie that I have a lot of like weird trivia knowledge about. This one I don't, but I was like, oh God, I really want people to watch this movie. And how am I going to do? Because I could tweet it. I could be like, watch Lemonade Mouth. And I have, and no one cares. But this is a platform. This is me taking a stand.
Now you have to make people care.
And it's old and like it's done. It's like 10 years old and like
love it.
But it's an awesome movie.
It's on Disney Plus.
It's on Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Easy to watch. Easy to see. We don't have to download bootleg versions of it or anything like this. I don't know.
No one would ever do that.
I don't know what you're referring to.
Yeah, exactly. Like, just hypothetically. So yeah, as winner, I choose Lemonade Mouth.
I actually have never seen this movie, but the reason why I know the song Determinate or whatever it's called.
Determinate.
Because there was this viral video where two of the stars were in the Apple store in the Grove.
Yep.
And they did a flash mob where they started singing the song. Remember when flash mobs were a thing?
Oh,
yeah, that's when this movie came out. It was when Flash
was a simpler time.
Yeah, but I remember the song. I like the song from that. I never saw the movie though.
Then you're gonna like the movie because that's not the best song in the movie. It's one of there's a real smarmy, like shitty. I'm not gonna spoil anything.
All right.
Watch it, and we will discuss.
The title is Lemonade Mouth on Disney Plus. It is Jermaine's choice for what we're going to watch before the next summer movie wager. I want to say again a big congratulations to Germain on winning this year's wager. He actually really genuinely crushed it, honestly. And a big thanks to everyone who participated this year, both on the global leaderboard, the Slack leaderboard, and here on this podcast, specifically also Peter Sciretta and BJ Colangelo joining us for the first year, BJ. Hope you had a fun time. We certainly had fun following along the choices with you this year.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's going to bring us to the end of this week's episode of the Filmcast. Thank you so much for watching this video of the Filmcast. Check out these other videos that we have available, and be sure to hit like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to get other videos from us in the future.
You can also go to thefilmcast.com to catch all of our audio podcast versions of all of our episodes.
And support this podcast at patreon.com/filmpodcast, where you can sign up for ad-free episodes and exclusive After Darks.
Thanks so much to everyone who makes the Filmcast possible.